There comes a point in life when you realize you've been a prisoner of your own making. I had spent so long thinking my limits were permanent, when really they were just temporary walls I could shift, change, or break down. You see, most people live their lives limited by what they believe they're capable of. They wake up, perform their daily rituals, and go to bed convinced that tomorrow will be the same as today. But here's the truth. That voice in your head telling you, "This is just who you are," is lying to you. It's not your voice. It's the echo of every person who ever told you to stay small, every failure that convinced you to play it safe, every moment you chose comfort over growth. The ancient Greek philosopher Heraclitus said, "No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river and he's not the same man." Yet most of us wake up every day pretending we're the exact same person we were yesterday, carrying the same limitations, the same fears, the same excuses. We've convinced ourselves that our personality, our capabilities, and our potential are fixed points in an ever-changing universe. This is perhaps the greatest lie we tell ourselves. Think about Jim Carrey's early years. When he was so poor his family lived in a van, and he had to work as a janitor at age 15 to help support them. Every night, he would drive to the Hollywood Hills, sit in his beat-up car, and visualize his future success. He wrote himself a check for $10 million for acting services rendered and dated it Thanksgiving 1995. He carried that check in his wallet until it was worn and faded. In 1994, just before that date, he learned he would be paid exactly $10 million for Dumb and Dumber. But it wasn't the check that created his success. It was his willingness to grow beyond his humble beginnings. But it doesn't end here. He understood something profound. You don't find your potential, you create it. You don't discover your limits, you decide them. The question isn't whether you can outgrow yourself. The question is whether you're willing to shed who you are today to become who you need to be tomorrow. And I mean that literally. Every time you transcend your current self, something has to fall away. Your old excuses have to go. Your familiar comfort zones have to fade. The story you've been telling yourself about who you are must be left behind. I learned this the hard way. I had always been someone who overthought everything, who needed backup plans before making any decision. My identity was built around being the careful one, the practical one. But I realized that this version of myself was keeping me trapped in a life that felt too small for my soul. So I made a decision. I committed to saying yes to one thing every week that scared me. Not reckless things, but things that pushed against the boundaries of who I thought I was. In week 1, I signed up for an improv class despite having stage fright. In week 2, I had a difficult conversation I'd been avoiding. By month 3, I was traveling alone to countries where I didn't speak the language. But something strange happened around month 6. I stopped recognizing myself in the mirror. Not physically, but psychologically. The person staring back at me was braver, more curious, more alive than the person who had started this journey. It was as if I had shed an old skin and grown into something entirely new. This is where most people get it wrong. They think personal growth is about adding new skills or habits to their existing self. But true transformation isn't addition, it's subtraction and multiplication simultaneously. You subtract the parts of yourself that no longer serve you, and you multiply the parts that align with who you're becoming. Maya Angelou believed in personal responsibility. If something in your life doesn't work, she urged, change it. Or if you can't, change how you relate to it. But she lived something even more profound. Born into poverty and trauma, she became a world-renowned poet, author, and civil rights activist. She didn't just change her circumstances. She alchemized her pain into purpose, her wounds into wisdom. Let me tell you, the process isn't comfortable. In fact, if you're comfortable with your growth, you're probably not growing. Real transformation feels more like controlled destruction. It feels like standing at the edge of who you've always been and jumping into who you could become, with no guarantee of where you'll land. The version of yourself that you're afraid to become is usually the version that's been waiting for you all along. It's not some foreign entity you need to create from scratch. It's who you are when you strip away all the layers of conditioning, fear, and false beliefs that have accumulated over the years. The most profound realization I've had on this journey is that outgrowing your old self isn't a destination. It's a way of being. It's something you choose every single day, sometimes every single moment. There's a concept in Zen Buddhism called Shoshin, the beginner's mind. It's the practice of approaching everything with openness, eagerness, and freedom from preconceptions. When we approach life with an open mind, we see endless possibilities. But when we think we already know everything, we close ourselves off to new opportunities. The moment you think you've figured out who you are, you've started stagnating. The moment you become attached to any version of yourself, you've started shrinking. True aliveness exists in the space between who you were and who you're becoming. Think about Leonardo da Vinci, who at age 67 was still calling himself a disciple of experience. Here was a man who had mastered painting, sculpture, architecture, invention, military engineering, and anatomy. Yet he approached each new day as if he were still learning everything for the first time. The people who outgrow themselves share one crucial characteristic. They've made friends with uncertainty. While most people are trying to figure out who they are, these individuals have embraced the reality of not knowing who they might become. This shift in perspective changes everything. Instead of defending your current self, you start sculpting your future self. Instead of justifying your limitations, you start questioning them. Instead of seeking evidence for why things won't work, you start looking for evidence of what's possible. But honestly, this journey will cost you some people. Not everyone will understand your commitment to continuous becoming. Some people will prefer the predictable version of you, the one they could count on to stay the same. They'll resist your growth because it challenges their own stagnation. So here's my challenge to you. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up, don't just ask yourself what you're going to do. Ask yourself who you're going to become. Don't just plan your actions, plan your evolution. Don't just set goals, set transformations. You are not stuck with the self you inherited. You are not limited by the person you've been. You are not confined by the story you've been telling about who you are. If this gave you something to think about, leave a like, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for your time.